There were two of us. Me and Eli Calder. We weren't friends. Not in the normal sense. But in this business, the heist business, trust doesn't come from birthdays or beers. It comes from clean exits, sealed mouths, and people who don't flinch when things go sideways. Eli was the only one who never flinched. The last job we did was supposed to be our retirement. A first-generation savings bank in Cleveland, of all places. No major updates since 1998. No facial scan. No AI tracking. Just a motion-sensitive vault and a security guard who was more interested in football than protocols. We spent 11 months planning it. We weren't greedy. We weren't reckless. We were surgical. In and out in 19 minutes. $12.4 million in mixed notes. We split up after the job. Standard protocol. I took the northern exit, hopped a train into Canada, then flew out under a false name. Disappeared into a villa I'd paid for in cash years earlier. Eli? He vanished. No call. No rendezvous. No cash drop. Nothing. For the first year, I thought he burned me. Took the money. Ran. Ghosted. The second year, I figured he was dead. By the third, I stopped thinking about it. Because in this business, silence is its own kind of headstone. I lived quiet. No new jobs. No signals. No noise. Just warm air, silence, and the feeling that maybe, just maybe, I'd gotten away with it. Until 12 years later, when I got the package. It came in a plain manila envelope, delivered by hand to a bookstore I owned under a fake name in coastal Spain. No return address. Inside, a flash drive. One file. A video. What I saw made my stomach twist. It was Eli. Older. Thinner. Eyes darker than I remembered. He was in a small room, concrete walls, exposed pipe, a single flickering bulb above. He looked straight into the camera and said, "If you're seeing this, it means I'm dead. Or close to it. You think I ran? I didn't. You think I took the money? I didn't. They made me disappear." The flash drive was encrypted, but Eli had left the password inside the envelope, handwritten, on a strip of receipt paper. 17 north, 12 down, remember Philly? Only he and I would know what that meant. 17 was the locker number at a Greyhound station in Philadelphia. 12 down was the chess move we used as code for second fallback location. It was how we used to send warnings years ago. And Philly. That was where it all started. Where we met. Where we pulled our first job. Where the scars began. The second file on the drive was a location. Cordoba, Argentina. A warehouse, GPS tagged, timestamped to 6 months prior. And a second line of text in Eli's handwriting. Don't trust the man in the red tie. No name. No details. Just that, and Eli's voice burned into my memory. They made me disappear. I left that night. No goodbyes. No trace. Burned the bookstore. Took only the pack I'd buried in the wall. Old passports. Cash. A weapon. By the time the embers cooled, I was already halfway to Argentina. Cordoba was louder than I expected. It smelled like dust and diesel and too many secrets baked in the sun. The warehouse was real. Abandoned. Broken locks. But inside, nothing. No Eli. No signs of struggle. Just rows of empty shelves, old crates with military markings, and one security camera pointed straight at the ceiling. Except it wasn't disconnected. It was wired to a hard drive still warm. I took it. That night, in a rundown motel with a view of nothing, I cracked the feed. Footage from 6 months ago. Date matched the timestamp Eli left. The camera showed a room in the warehouse. Clean. Lit. And in it Eli. Alive. Handcuffed. Talking to someone off screen. Then the man stepped in. Black suit. Clean shave. Sharp cheekbones. But what I noticed most was the red tie. He bent down, whispered something in Eli's ear. Eli flinched. Looked straight into the camera. Said, "I told you he'd come looking." The man in the red tie didn't flinch. He smiled. Then the feed cut. Someone knew I'd come back. Eli knew. Which meant this wasn't just a warning. It was a message. Finish what he started. Or end up where he did. The man in the red tie wasn't just a handler. He was a fixer. I'd seen his type before, not in the jobs I took, but in the ones I turned down. Black budget operatives working for private security firms that don't officially exist. Contractors who clean up when governments need deniability. You don't find them. You make enough noise and they find you. So that's what I did. I started asking questions. Not to people. To systems. Old forums. Encrypted channels. Surveillance leaks. I used burner laptops, bounced queries through dead satellites and abandoned VPN tunnels. Every breadcrumb I found pointed to one name. Randall K. Security Group. Registered in Panama. No offices. No public-facing staff. But dozens of shell companies, contracts with infrastructure protection firms, and a hidden client list stretching from North Africa to South America. And in one blurred photograph from a leaked Chilean intelligence document. There he was. Same red tie. Only this time, standing beside a convoy of unmarked trucks in the Atacama Desert. The file listed him as Consultant 03B, Asset Acquisition and Containment. Eli hadn't just disappeared. He'd been taken. And held. Why? Because he knew something. Something worth more than $12 million. I found my first real lead in a bar outside Mendoza. Old ex-merc named Tomas used to run security for Randall K. convoys. He was drunk. Bitter. Broke. And one sentence cracked him. What happened in Cleveland 12 years ago wasn't about the money, was it? He blinked like I'd slapped him. Then he leaned forward and said, "You were the crew. Half of it. Then you don't know." "Know what?" He downed his drink. "That wasn't your heist." "What the hell are you talking about? You didn't rob that bank. You interrupted a handoff." "What kind of handoff?" He smiled. Bitter. "You took $12 million in cash. But you also took a hard drive hidden in the vault's paneling. Encrypted. Government sealed. Eli must have figured it out. They were watching him ever since." My throat went dry. All these years. I thought the job had been clean. A target of opportunity. Old bank. Easy score. No violence. No mistakes. But we'd walked straight into a covert operation and lifted something we weren't supposed to see. And now, one of us was gone. The other? Hunted. I bought a gun that night. Slept with it under my hand. Because this wasn't about the money anymore. This was about a choice I didn't know I'd made. A line I didn't know I'd crossed. And a partner I wasn't ready to bury just yet. I found him in a basement. Or what was left of him. It was a decommissioned facility buried under a vineyard outside Santiago, one of Randall K's off-grid black sites, used to hold unregistered assets. No cameras. No paperwork. Just whispers and concrete. Eli was chained to a cot. His body was thinner. Hair almost gone. But he was breathing. Barely. He looked at me through cracked eyes and whispered, "Took you long enough. You're supposed to be dead." I was. For a while. "Why didn't you run?" "Because they had her." "Her who?" He smiled. "Sad. Dying. My sister." Eli never told me he had family. That was the rule. No connections. No leverage. But he broke it once, long enough to fall in love with being a brother again. That drive we'd stolen, the one we didn't know we had, contained surveillance logs, photos, names, a list of civilian informants being tracked illegally by a rogue intelligence unit. And Eli's sister? She was on it. A teacher. No criminal record. Wrong place, wrong time. She'd seen something. Reported it. And they'd marked her as a long-term destabilization risk. When Eli found out what was on the drive, he didn't run. He stayed. He tried to leak it. Quietly. Through the right channels. But Randall K found out. And instead of killing him, they made him disappear. He gave me the last copy of the drive that night. Taped inside the lining of his jacket. "Make it mean something," he said. "Where's your sister now?" "Gone." "And you?" He smiled again. Eyes closing. "Doesn't matter anymore." He died before sunrise. I burned the site. Everything. Left nothing but ash and cement. Then I made 6 copies of the drive. Gave them to 6 people who hate secrets more than they fear power. And then I ran. They'll come for me eventually. They always do. But I'll be ready this time. Because now, I know the truth. We thought we were thieves. But we weren't stealing money. We were stealing silence. And Eli? He wasn't my partner in crime. He was the only man who ever stayed loyal. Even when it cost him everything.